So, shall we do a quick run over? So, starting from for the start of the day, we as discussed yesterday, we mark out our PDL, our PDH from the day. So, we've got our previous day high over here. We do our OTE zone, and I do a fixed range volume profile. So, from the low here to the PDH. And this just gives us our volume areas, which can become our points of interest. So we can see from this swing, we have our, the thicker line here is our POC, our point of control, which is where most of the volume came in during this whole swing. And we can see for the retracement into London, that's come back into that. So good point of interest for your charts. There, and then we've used this zone here from New York Q2 into Q3 became our manipulation zone from that previous day. So when we start Asia, we like to have, or any session, we like to use the previous session manipulation zone, and we want those session high and lows for potential draws on liquidity. So we've got our New York PM high here and New York PM low, which we can see by having the New York PM low on the chart. That became our point of interest around that POC, and price came back and swept that, and that was our reversal zone as well for the day. It's finally nice to get a London low of the day.
Super
Yeah, Jess, I don't think we've
magnificent.
seen too many lately.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
So yeah, for Asia, if we want to run over Asia from yesterday, we've had our quarter one was quite bullish. We've come up. This box here is our Asia opening range, which was the first 30 minutes from 1800 to 1830. So we can see 1830 runs to here, and prices just expanded higher. This is where I was looking for a short yesterday. We would had a three wave, 1, 2, 3. So we'd taken the PM high into this three wave, and then we broke structure here. And I was looking on stream for that short from here down lower to fill that gap that we looked at, and potentially draw back to this POC. It was slightly early there. And we had the bullish swing breakout sequence here for continuation, which is a bit of an obvious sign in hindsight with that nice reversal sign here. And we've got the double FVGs, that BPR here, the price coming out.
What candle was your entry on here?
I was here, I reckon. Let me have a look.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
21.35. And then I was hoping these two here were the macro for the 2000. So 21.50 comes back up, retests. And then we've got this bearish engulfing here on the 5 minute. Closes lower, so I wanted that to continue down. And then once we had these two candle closes just above, I cut the trade there.
Mm-hmm.
And we made that equal highs. But like a three wave above a liquidity level with the breaker structure, displacement down, would still take that every time.
100%. Same.
I think. So it ended up being a bullish swing breakout sequence. So we had the breakout here was our 1, retracement becomes 2, the next high becomes 3, and then the low sweeps 2 is 4, 5. And then price goes to the high of 3, which is 6 up here. Then we went to the breakdown after that. So we've had, which ended up being in Q4 of Asia. So we've had our Q4 breakdown. Got our displacement here through the change in state of delivery. Come back, we can do an OTE swing of this as well from here. And we can map out this whole zone to be our plausible manipulation swing for Asia. And the whole idea of looking for shorts in these areas, even though we're in bullish structure, is for that whole power of three idea. So we're looking for price to come back into a discount zone and then push up, which is what's played out. We've had that accumulation into manipulation for London and then expansion higher. So days like this, we want to, if we're trading Asia or London, we want to try and catch that pre-move, and then the main move for the day being that expansion up. That is my screen and stuff sharing okay?
Yep, everything's looking great.
Everything is smooth? Cool.
Any questions, guys?
Doing pretty good. So yeah, originally I had this swing here mapped out.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I think I was still on the stream for that.
As a zone.
I think I might have gotten off maybe right before you got out of the trade.
Yeah. Daily and H4 strategy. Yeah, we can do that. Maybe we'll set up the chart with today's stuff on there as well for that. I'll try and get through this a little bit quicker than Jess has covered it a bit, and I did that earlier, just markup of the charts. So as we're going into London, so this manipulation zone's held. It's come back up and retested. So this was a bearish SBS. Now we've got one for the break, two creates the next lower high. Then we get 3 and 4 and 5 come back, sweep 2. These are the moves too that if you're aware of and aware of these counts, you know, if you've gotten in here on 2 and then you stop loss to break even as this has come down, these are the ones that take you out and then price goes straight to your target, which happens a lot. So I'm really enjoying using these swing breakout sequences and counts to then be more aware of this and not letting my position be taken out if I was in early. Or looking at, if I did get in here, I'd have one account takes profit at SD 1.5 and then have another account that would run to 2.5 and 4 or 4.5. And that way you're always getting at least one account into its take profit at full amount at 1.5.
That is genius. I love that idea so much. I also actually like this swing break sequence for what was previously deemed as like failed 2022 models, right? Because someone would be looking at this and think like, okay, this is a bullish market structure shift and this is the 2022 model, I'm going to take it. I actually do look at the market structure shifts for the possibility of a liquidity purge. And I think that the swing break sequence like pretty much, conveys that beautifully.
It helps clean up the traps, I guess. So you mark out what the trap's actually doing and you're like, oh, okay, that's where I went wrong. Or that's where the model may have failed.
Uguay, there's a picture of this. I'll find it and I'll send it again for the breakdown of the swing break sequence.
So for shorts from here, we're looking during London. I was on for the first part of London with Freedom, and we're looking for this to then make another one, which it didn't. So we were looking for 2 here. So the breakout here becomes a 1 where the 6 is. Retracement 2, down to 3. And then for London, we wanted this to turn and come back up, take out 2, hit preferably TDO again, and then hit the Asia low. And we can also then we can move our sort of boxes down as we go. So this push up here has helped to mitigate this manipulation zone. And we can create a new one from that one. So this is what we were looking for London. To come back up. TMSO and True Day Open there as well. Would have been quite nice to get. But price was very bearish there. Yeah, aggressive.
Yeah.
And so this is another reason why we want to have those previous session levels on. So if we did get short or get this other short here, then we'd be looking at that previous session low. So we've got Asia low as well, and previous day high is always a good target when coming back in to the range. Yeah, 2, we've hit the 4 and 4.5 standard deviation here from that Asia manipulation zone. So then we've come down to London, quarter 2. So this is our manipulation swing for London. Nice quarter 3 manipulation. We're back around our point of interest. We've got our point of control here. We had I did a 1 hour swing deviation from here. So we had our SD2 lining up. We've got these 2 lows here as well.
Lunch
and
low
our POC.
and PM low. Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
And swept both of those. This candle then here right at 4 o'clock has come up. So we've swept these lows down here. We've swept this low. And we've closed back above here. And we've come through then. And so this candle is quite bullish. It's come back up, closed above these ones. And then we can expect price to go to the top. And we've broken straight through. This has given us our change in state of delivery. High probability now. We're in quarter 3 for manipulation. Displaced up, broken structure. We can then measure our standard deviations from the high to the low. High is the wicks. And then we can draw that out as a zone, as we did with Asia up here. We can map that out. We can then do our sequence count as well here. So we've got 1 is our breakup, 2 is the retracement, and 3 breaks the 1 high. So I'm not worried about this one because we're waiting for the swing high to then come back and sweep 2. So we've come back up, we sweep 2, that becomes our 4, and either the next low or the high low becomes your 5. And we've got our news in here at 8:30. We still respected this manipulation zone. And then pushes up, and then so 6 becomes our break of 3 here. This is very nice price action.
Super, super clean. Frank S asked
OTE, yeah.
Yeah, Frank S asked if you can wait to get in at 4 or 5 instead of getting in early at 2.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So if you if we're looking at price just back here and like it's shooting up, what do? We want to wait. We just let it go. We want to wait for price to come back into the zone. So you could have either entered here at 6:45, or we keep waiting. We have our OTE on, so we've done our fib from the low here to the high of 3, waiting for it to come back in. And the other thing I like to do is draw out the arrays within the manipulation zone. So we've got our bullish fair value gap here, our BISI. So we could look at entry within 50% of that, which also lines up at the 6-2. So this is where we start stacking our confluence levels within that zone, and they can become your entry points. And anything down to 50% of that is always good. So if we had like a BPR down here or something else, it's then we can just keep moving it lower, like if OTE was lower as well, around the 50% of this order block. we could then take it from there. And knowing that that's under 2, that's good. Or you could start risk syncing from here. We could enter on one account here. So we've got a larger stop loss because we want stop loss below the low outside of this zone. And then we can enter on a second account here. Maybe a third account here. The bonus of using these counts, and they don't happen every day. I mean, they happen a fair amount of the time, but is it just like if we're up here, you don't want to get FOMO and then go, right, I'm going to long on the retest of this. We have a fair idea that 2 is going to get swept. We always want that raid, and we've got our manipulation zone. So we know we want 2 to get swept. We want this zone to get tapped because that's mitigating the zone, and that's where you get your fuel to go higher. And what I mean by that is that when you get your manipulation areas, these are shorts that are creating the manipulation sweeps. They need to get mitigated or removed from the system as such. And that creates the fuel to then push the other way. And we want that expansion out of there.
Great.
But I still take the trade with the 8:30 news. Not if I'm on TPT.
I did.
When you sorry.
No worries. I did take this trade, Frank S, through the 8:30 news. So I actually double checked the news roll on the prop that I was trading at that moment, and I just want to verify that I could in fact hold through news, and I did take that trade actually. So I did take it at swing 4, and that I actually don't trade the swing break sequence yet. I may implement it, but. Yeah, I did happen to get it just simply off of OTE actually, and the 5-minute inversion in this area. But yeah, sorry, Adrian, didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, you're good. And yeah, perfect trade for Jess today. A big congratulations to you. That's
thank you.
Awesome. So the idea and the way that I'm looking at these SBS counts is using them within each of these standard deviation zones. So from 1 to 1.5, we have our reaccumulation phase, and that's what we're looking for, the pattern there. So we want that rate of 2 into continuation. And then even though it's slightly messy here, into quarter 3 of PM, it still does the same thing. So 2 to 2.5, we'll look for reaccumulation again. And for this day, we're quite bullish. We've I'm not sure how many people were on when I'm doing the high time frame analysis, but we've got a lot of levels up higher for price to keep going. So it's a fair chance we'll get up to the 4.5 from there. So here we've got our breakout again, one with the news, and then the swing back. This low here becomes 2. And we come up to make 3, is the next breakout. 3 breaks 1. So even with these manipulation swings, which are quite large in quarter 3, it's still doing that same reaccumulation phase. Down to 4, breaks 2, 5, and we've got OTE of our swing from the low up to the high of 3. Respects that as well. And now this whole down candle here, this becomes our new zone. And this is our quarter 3 manipulation for New York AM. We can draw out this whole box. And then it's done the whole thing again, coming into the PM session. So we've come out, we've hit the 4.5. We've had another push into Q4. And then we've got our retracement. And this has come back into the zone. Respects the 50% level of the zone. Creates liquidity along here. And we get a quarter 1 manipulation in the PM session here. So it's come down, we've broken out again. Displaced over here. With another SPS count. So 1, 2, 3. The OTA retracement and that breaks 2. And we come back out and we're looking to get in. And if we can, sort of after this candle here has broken our structure. We could have done another OTE swing from here. And then look to get in at OTE this week with our stop loss below the low here. And price just expands to 6. And we've got our 1.5 up here as well from this manipulation swing in PM. So we hit the 1.5, retraced, and then we're just into consolidation at the end of the day.
And we just hit 2 standard deviations now in live price action.
Nice.
Crazy. That is actually wicked clean.
So because that's our PM, our previous session, we keep drawing that across. And we've got our extra zones up here for the rest of the day.
Any questions?
So yeah,
guys?
very nice PO3 day.
Yeah. So clean. And a lot of SBS everywhere. At every...
Yeah.
That is so crazy.
And just so handy for waiting for entries.
Absolutely.
So, we're like up here now, we want to wait for 2 to get swept. We're not going to FOMO in. And then like the other thing to wait for is just those macro times as well. Like if we get these within a macro time, like this is 7:10 where 4 is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's creating the wick for that 1 hour candle. So we're getting that. It's sweeping too. It's coming into our manipulation zone during the macro. Just stacks the confluence. What's this one at? So 13:10 was that move. That was the low, the macro of that H1 there.
Mm-hmm.
So open, low, high, close. Yeah, very nice. Another macro time in here.
Very clean. Have you already posted this chart in your channel?
Yes, yeah.
Awesome.
With the rundown on each quarter as well.
Awesome. So guys, if you want to save a copy of this, you can just go to Adrian's channel, and then he also has the rundown and the summary of everything that he just went through accompanying the chart.
Well, good. Shall we prep the chart for today then? If we delete all of this. 119 drawings gone. All right. So first thing I like to do, we go back to the daily. We draw out our previous day high and previous day low. You can see we've just swept that. Move them back across.
What EMAs do you use, Adrian?
So just been using the smooth moving average, 20 and 200.
20 and 200.
Yeah.
Yeah, Frank.
Just trying to keep an eye on them at the moment. So if we are looking for the bullish SBSs above them and then more bearish below them. As such, that's what I'm monitoring them for. And then to help, so I was looking for the shorts up here, but we're quite far above, and then we've come down and broken it and come back for the short here. And as they get separated too, a bit more confluence to come back together. So rather than shorting up here, we could have used that 20 SMA for a bit more confluence and waited for the break here. And then that's where we had that SBS for London to come down. Yeah, another confluence zone for take profits as well, I guess there. So previous day high, previous day low. We do our OTE of the range. And then the fixed range volume profile, which we see here. And we're going from PDL to PDH. I'm trying to work out the volume zones for the day.
Ooh.
We had our our Q3 manipulation. We're going to pop that back on. That may become relevant later if we don't just keep shooting up. So yeah, we've got our point of control, our main volumes happening down here. Just nice, like back towards discount here as well. So if we do fall over here, we'll be looking similar to yesterday. We'll just mark out our other quarters. So coming up into Q3 of Asia again. We're above PDH, so ideally, if we don't just keep going up here, we can get a sweep, come back in, retest PDH, get accepted back into the daily range. And similar to yesterday, coming back down. So this can become an area of interest now. Our PMQ3 manipulation zone, we've got our OTE zone of the daily. And we've got a high probability of Friday being the high of the week, which happens after midnight. So if we come into midnight and we're heading lower, then there's high probability for a long later on if we're down here again. So we mark out our PD arrays around that area. And we had that Q1 swing we can draw a box onto here. Our PM. And we can put our deviations on that move as well. Left all of this. and previous session. Oops. So NYPM high is the PDH. NYPM low is down here. And that's pretty much set up ready for the day until we get our true day open. We can put the Asia TMSO in from here as well. And then we just let the puzzle build over Asia. Want to get an Asia high, Asia low at the end of the session. TMSO of London and our true day open. So if we can get true day open to then price to go straight down from there, then we can look for that expansion high later on.
Yeah.
Ideally, from the back here and then heading back up.
Would you pull up TGIF once that swing high forms?
Yeah, yeah. So I've got a 1 hourly chart still set up. Let's have a look. So we've got some high levels. We've got a order block up here. This is back from December, 18th of December. So this hasn't been tested yet. So it's unmitigated. If we're looking at the higher targets on the H1. So we've just taken all these highs. We've got a 1 standard deviation here of this Wednesday swing. Look out for as well. And if we pop our PO3 set to the, look at that for a candle.
Wow.
Got a like a 3-wave building here too, Jess.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3.
Above equal highs into that OB too. That's pretty clean.
Yeah. So if we can get that, then we can do our fib to wherever that high lands. Put these on the left. And so plausible moves too, like 236 points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mentioned the same thing.
Into New York.
That's actually lower than the current average daily range. The daily range right now is averaging around 275 points.
Yeah.
And the weekly range is actually around 900, and we're only at a 700 for the week. So that's very plausible to get up into that area.
Yeah, nice. So this is our 1 hour chart here with our, which is what I've asked people to do for their homework on the weekends. And you can do this during the week. So we just mark out our vertical lines for each true day open. We do our true day open horizontal lines across. And, you know, when we're bullish, we're looking for manipulation under TDO and expansion up. Manipulation under true day open, expansion up. We can probably get a deviation in this one as well. It's 1.5 around that area too. So yeah, free wave would be 1, 2, 3. Come up. We get a nice break. Get another manipulation zone up here that we can draw a box on. And then we're looking for entries within that zone to write down to 0.2, 0.3.
I believe it'll probably be in the same area or close to OTE.
From here to here?
No. I think from the PM session manipulation maybe, I think is sorry, on the lower time frame. Yeah. The OTE that you had drawn out.
Ah, yes, from the here.
Mm-hmm. Right above
Depending where that lands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So cool. So much fun.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Such a cool puzzle. Yeah.
Yeah, Frank, as True Day Open is midnight. New York
Correct. Yeah.
New York Open is technically 7:30 a.m. All right. Do you guys have any questions about any of this? Shall we get into how to create a Discord journal?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So we've got our daily chart set up. We're just letting price action play out for the moment until it makes something a bit clearer. We want to use the Asia high and low levels to help plot out what price is going to do, and preferably want it to come down here, come up, take the highs, and then TGIF, or it's going to keep coming up, break structure in London or New York AM, and then come down to here, which pairs up with our TGIF levels. Alrighty. Do you want me to I'll stop sharing the screen.
All right.
Cool.
All right, here we go.
Let's move my mic a little bit.
All right, it's going to look a little crazy at first because I have to have Discord open. There we go. Okay, so when you guys are going to create your own Discord servers, which is what Adrian and I utilize for our own Discord journals, you're just going to, from your any channel really, but on your left hand side here, you're looking for this plus sign to add a server. Once you click on this plus sign, you would just click create my own, and you can choose a template. I don't think it's necessary. Create my own, it just gives you a blank slate to start from, and then from here, for me and my friends. Oh, great, Cozy. Then you'll have the opportunity to name it. So, you can name it, Backtest, Jess's journal, your journal, whatever you want to call it, your money printing machine, and then just hit create. And then from there, you'll have just these two options when you start from that create your own system. And from here, we suggest a template. I'm actually going to use the one that Adrian sent to me. He's also helped a few of you members with this. But you have essentially a general channel. This is what I probably recommend you use as like as a journal, to just type your thoughts out as you're actually journaling. And then we have chart setup, which is what Adrian was just doing. So similar to that, you would mark up your charts and then add them to this area. You're just gonna hit this plus sign next to that category, and that's what will create a new channel for you. And then we have daily review. Next will be winning trades.
And Billy's got it worked out there. Top channel, yeah.
And losing trades. Certificates. Payouts. Goals, really important. And indicators. That way you can save links to all the indicators that you use. Okay, so
Homework's another one to put your weekly homework into as well.
yeah,
I forgot to put on the list.
Let's do that.
And then we could have like a weekly profile was the other one I was thinking as well. So for the weeks that are quite clean and that you want to save as a say open low high close week, Friday high, Monday low, or the other way around, you could then save them into that as well.
Yeah.
To refer back on later on. Yeah.
In my journal, I actually call this outlook and look backs. So what I do is for outlooks and look backs. So what I do is that when I am creating or when I'm saving charts and saving my analysis and I'm thinking, okay, based on news, I think it's going to be this, right? Or it comes out really clean and it ends up being something else. What I'll do is I'll save my outlook, the charts before the week, and then I'll go back to those same exact charts and add the charts after the fact, especially when they're really clean, because then you guys will have really good ideas of how the weekly profile plays out according to news.
Yeah, nice.
All right, so we're gonna switch off. We're gonna go through a few channels here and give you guys examples of what you would do. So I'm just gonna switch over to my journal really quick. Hopefully, I'm not gonna leak anything I don't want you guys to see. Okay. All right, so I'll go to my freestyle journal for examples. This is what I would recommend in your general channel. Is that for today example, when I was reading price, I was simply adding charts of what I was doing chart by chart into my own journal. Obviously, I didn't write anything to myself. I was actually quite active in the premium chat today with you guys. But this is exactly what my day-to-day routine would look like when I'm just documenting how I'm seeing price. Because I already have my chart marked out at this point, for me, I'm not typing as many words. But I've also shown you guys that, you guys can also just type directly on your charts, what you're thinking and why you're thinking it. If it's not clear to you in your drawings, especially early on, it's really important to understand your thought process. So I would recommend saving a chart and then saving a brief description of what's happening here. I also just frequently just talk to myself in this channel, to be quite frank with you. So if I'm not in the premium chat talking to you guys directly, I'll be typing in here what I think price is going to do, what price has done, things like that. So exactly what Adrian was doing in his chart setup, but instead I'm typing to myself in live time, basically. And then do you want to take over the chart setup section, Adrian?
Yeah, so I've just posted in the chat list that you guys can pop into there, which is what we've just gone through as well. So if you open that up, we've got our step one was to put in our PDH. So you can type this into your chart setup area. So then each day before you start your sessions, you can go through these steps and get your chart ready, which is what we've just done in the video. So step one, we do our PDH, PDL. We then grab our OTE of the range. In that list I posted, I didn't put the fixed range volume profile, so you can add that in there as well. So the FRVP of the range, that's where we get that point of control and where the max volume's coming in. Step 2, we mark out the previous session high and lows. Example, if we're doing Asia, we're using the New York PM high and low. If we're doing London, we're using Asia high and low, and so on. We mark out our true day open, mark out true market session open, and then we want the current change in state of delivery and deviation that we're currently working with. So at the moment, we're using that Q1 manipulation from New York PM.
Beautiful, thank you. And then for daily review, you can do a combination. You can see like just between my channel and Adrian's channels, we do our daily reviews differently. So for example, or you guys even just witnessed it now, right? When Adrian was hopping on, I was quickly going over my daily review. So of course my daily review is going to be revolved around my model and how I trade. Likewise for him. So he marks out the entire chart and puts a summary with it. If you look in my channel and you scroll up at my previous trades, I'll just do a trade review essentially. So maybe not an entire daily review, which I've also done those in the past. I've just kind of been slacking off truthfully. But, you know, sometimes my daily review can just be a trade review, or it can go over all of the price action, very similar to what Adrian does if it's like super wicked clean, right? And I want to remember what this price action, like how this price action played out and what it looked like, then I'll go ahead and also do something very, very similar to what Adrian does in his daily review. For winning trades, I think that's, you know, fairly straightforward. I have a section in my journal called chart porn, and it's all under accolades. And in this chart porn, I just kind of save like all of my best trades. So, you know, this trade, for example, from today would definitely be going in there. All of your best trades you definitely want to keep in one place so that you also have, you know, you start to recognize your model as it's playing out, because you have so many copies of, you know, you having traded it and it having played out perfectly. For your losing trades, I think that, you know, you definitely want to save charts of your losing trades, and more so in this area. Adrian, you can feel free to correct me or, you know, add in here, but for your losing trades, I think what's actually really important about documenting them or journaling them is that you look at them objectively and not kind of bash yourself, and not implement any type of negative self-talk, but approach it as a money manager, approach it as a professional trader, right? And say, okay, this played out, this is how I reacted in that moment, or this is how I executed in that moment. It would have been better to do X, Y, and Z instead. Or, you know, this played out, I failed to recognize this, or this just, you know, this was not in my analysis, I missed this. Later in the future, I can catch this by doing certain things, right? So you want to maybe implement a solution into the mistake that you might have made. And I think that's super important to document your losing trades as well, because most people just lose and, you know, go about their day, and they just don't ever.
It helps build the muscle memory. This is the whole idea of all of the recording as well, is you're building muscle memory of what's going to happen. So same as all the daily reviews, if you can keep doing that every single day, you start to get an idea of what price is doing, and that helps then make the plans for the day as well, which is what we're doing. Plotting your losing trades and writing about them builds that muscle memory. You're like, oh shit, I've seen this play out before, and this is a trap, and I'm gonna, you know, this trade's not gonna work out. And then you can go back and double check one of your losing trade examples. You're like, oh, this is what happened here. I need to wait for this level to get swept, and then I can enter in. You know, all of this builds confidence and muscle memory, and it's, you know, you must be doing this stuff to help get in front and get ahead.
Yeah, and you're never gonna forget how bad you felt in that losing trade. Like
Yeah.
when you go back and just see the chart, you're gonna be like, "Oh man, I remember that day. That day was rough." So all of this definitely it really does add to your discipline down the road and how you execute down the road. All right, so for certificates, also self-explanatory. I would recommend saving all of your certificates when you're passing evals, like no matter what stage you're in. I've definitely done this in my own journal. I've saved almost every certificate up until the new year. I haven't saved any of them after the new year. But wherever you are in your journey, if passing a eval is a huge success for you, definitely post them. That way you can go back and you can kind of see like, wow, I've actually achieved a lot. Some prop firms also will have payout certificates, or funded certificates, anything like that, any certificates that they're giving you. Add it here, and again, this is also just a reminder to yourself that there's always another trade, there's always another eval, and you've done it before, you've achieved it before, and you can and will achieve it again, right? Next
When you're
one.
having a bad day or week, it's great to go back and look at your certificates and pump yourself back up.
Absolutely. Same thing goes for payouts. The payouts channel grows very slowly, but it will start to fill up. You will start to get weekly payouts, monthly payouts, things like that. So definitely save that up. It's also, I think it really actually also helps with accounting, to be honest. Like you can look back and say, wow, I made X amount of money this month. That's a record month for me, and that's another way that you can instill confidence in yourself. Anything you want to add here, Adrian?
No, I think that's pretty good. Uguay's got a question. If you screen record a time frame for a daily review, what time frame would it be?
Oh, that's a good question. I would just do every time frame that you're using in your analysis. If you're trying to use just one time frame, for me, for example, because I primarily trade the 5 minute, I would probably do mine between the hourly and the 5 minute. For me, because I do a 5 minute, 1 hour daily time frame alignment, I would just personally record all three. But if you're literally trying to stick on one, I would probably say the execution time frame that you're working on.
Yeah, and this is why I do mine always on the 5 minute. That's my main time frame.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll post 1 hour reviews during the week as well because working in alignment with the H1.
Yep, yep. Okay, and then for goals, I actually have a really good example of this. Um, this might take me a second to find it. I don't know, Adrian, if you might also be in the same area, if you recall this, but in liquidity, one of our first assignments was to like basically write where you want to see yourself in a year. I found this to be very cathartic for me. Very, very useful for me for sure, like down the road. So I did actually do that. So let me see if I can, how do I click into it? Here. Okay, sorry, there. So I did actually write what I wanted my goals to be the year out. You can just take a screenshot of it. You can always look back on this video as well. And I almost pretty much achieved every single thing in this goal outline. So I wrote like I wanted to be 1 million in funding. I've probably achieved like $5 million in funding by now. I've passed so many evals, and unfortunately, I learned the hard way that honestly, passing evals is not the problem. Like passing evals, once you get there, it is a very huge success once you're there. But once you're passing evals, that it almost just becomes the nuisance in this entire system of things, right? And really getting the payout is the hardest thing. But almost every single thing that I wrote for myself as far as my goals, where I want to be in 1 year, I well over surpassed them by the time that year had hit. Of course, that's not to say that you should also surpass them, But it's crazy to look back. Like I remember writing this in real time and thinking like, wow, like maybe a year is like not enough. And some of these things I did achieve in the year, some of these things I didn't. But the most important thing to me is this last line. Most importantly, I never have to work for anyone else ever again. I own my time entirely and I get to spend it doing what I love with who I love. And you guys all know from last year, I leave the charts every single day at 11 a.m. on the dot. And this, like, it's just crazy to me that I can write this down somewhere and it can come into fruition. So, definitely recommend that everyone does take time to, go into this channel and write down your goals and what you really do want for yourself, so that you can look back at this and really truly see how far you've come.
So good. Very good.
And then indicator self-explanatory. I would just save all the links here. Weekly homework. Definitely tap into the Algo Lab and do the homework that Adrian is assigning us. I will also lead by example and start doing it as well. And then outlooks and lookbacks. I did a quick description of them when I typed it in. But if you are trying to learn weekly and daily profiles and things like that, or you're anticipating the manipulation as Adrian does, you can simply save a chart of what you're anticipating and then go back to that chart with a chart that of the data that has printed, and you can critique yourself on how it did or did not play out, and then you have a template essentially of what a daily profile, a weekly profile would look like, or a New York manipulation, a London manipulation. So cryptic, I start my day at 5 a.m. most days. But yeah, that's all. That's really it for the Discord journal. If you guys didn't get the screenshot of this is in the chat. You can just scroll up and get this. This is, I think, really important for having a system for your chart setups. And for all of this, you do kind of want to have, some of this you can probably freestyle, but you do want to start to develop some sort of system or step-by-step way of doing things, so that every time you post something, it's the same format as your last post and whatnot. And of course, that will also develop with time as you develop as a trader. That's a good question. So I was confident to move from micros to minis after I got the statistics on my model, right? So this is something that I've discussed in depth during my backtest sessions with you all. If you're constantly changing how much you're risking, like you're doing a random number of micros or random number of minis just based on how you feel that day, how much you like the setup, you have no concrete results on how much you can make, right? But for me, for example, because I know that, I'm buying 50K accounts only and I have a X percentage win rate, then I know that I want to risk X amount of dollars on that eval so that I can pass it in X amount of trades. So back in the day when I first started, I was buying 50K accounts, and they come with anywhere from $2,000 to $2,500 in drawdown. And because I didn't have a lot of money at the time and I was living off of my savings, I knew I wanted to stretch this eval as much as possible. So I was risking $125 per trade in micros. And I had a template like this, right, where I know how much to risk on ES for $125. If my stop loss is X points, I risk X micros. Same thing for NQ. And $125 per trade with a 50K account, again, is 20 trades, right? So roughly 2 trades per day for 2 weeks. Now, when I got more aggressive with passing evals, or because I have the statistics on my model and I can say, okay, my 5-minute 2022 model has a 80% win rate if I take the entry from the CE of the fair value gap. And just on that alone, I can say, okay, I no longer want to spend 20 trades or 2 weeks with my evals. I now want to pass my evals in 2 trades. So my risk now is I'm risking 25% of my eval, of my drawdown, to aim for 50% profit target, right? So I can take essentially 4 trades to try to pass this eval. If I win every trade that I take, then I only need to take 2 trades and I'm passing in 2 days. So that's in short how I moved from micros to minis. When exactly was when I got my first payout, basically, because now it was like, now I want to pass evals more aggressively, because past the latency between passing evals and failing them and then starting a new one was too far apart for me to inch myself closer to a payout. So it became, okay, how can I reduce the latency so that I'm passing evals more frequently, getting the opportunity to be on a funded account more frequently, and then possibly getting closer to a payout as such, right? So that really just came after after I got my first payout, because then there was a little bit more breathing room to be able to spend money, because at the time, again, I was living on my savings. So as the payouts came in, or they started to come in, I started to get a little bit more aggressive. That aggressiveness did pay off for me in my case, and I did start to get more payouts. Like, I think from my first payout to my second payout, I think it was like 3 months, and then from my second payout to my third payout was 1 month, and then from there I was able to achieve a payout every single month, and that payout went directly back into evals. And a $2,000 payout, that actually pays for a lot of evals. So then my problem actually became activation fees. That was a huge hurdle for me, because then I was passing so many evals, but I couldn't afford to activate them, because the activation fee is the most expensive part. So yeah, long story short, or I hope that answered your question. Max trades taken per day. I try to really only take 1 to 2 trade ideas per day, but I will trade multiple evals and funded accounts on the same idea, but using each eval or funded account as a continuation of that one idea, if that makes sense. So if I've taken a 2R trade, for example, but I think it's going to go longer, and then there's a new entry from a new fair value gap, I will enter with another funded account or another eval. Adrian, I don't know if you want to give that a go.
I think I just the way you're talking about evals, I think everyone needs to take on board, and being aggressive with them. Like, the last thing you want, which I'm sure majority of people have been through, is tying yourself down with evals, doing like 2 MNQ contracts and taking a month to pass an eval. Like, when I first started out doing prop firms and the challenges, I spent so long doing evals. So it'd take me a month to pass an eval, and you get so exhausted, and then you pass it, and then blow my account as soon as I got a funded account.
Absolutely.
I put all this effort and all my best trades into this eval, and now I'm the same. So, like, I want to pass an eval in 2 to 3 trades and be done with it. Like, I want to stack these things up and build a portfolio of funded accounts. So when I'm relaxed, price action's being fantastic. It's come back to entry. We've got this great idea. I've now got all these funded accounts I can start entering in on, instead of putting all my energy into evaluations.
Yeah, absolutely. And Uguay, I can't, my entire trading career has been on a budget. I'm sure all of us have, right? Like, we can't just go to the casino every single day and think it's not going to catch up with us. I had 2 years of household expenses saved up. For the record, I do live way below my means. But I did have 2 years of expenses saved up, and with trading, those 2 years of expenses were dwindled down to 9 months of living. So, you have to stick to a budget if you're on a budget, And that, again, I think that really only emphasizes that you need to study and you need to backtest before you're actually risking money recklessly on evals. But once you do have the data and you do have your technical edge, then I think it is very reasonable to get more aggressive so that you're not spending so much time with the evals, because it really is a blow to your confidence, which in turn will, affect your psychology, if down the road. Like, even before your technical edge can reveal itself, you'll start to lose confidence just because it's taking so long to pass an eval. Oh man, Stefan, I'm sorry to hear that. That is so tough. Yeah. And those technical mistakes actually hurt the most, because then it's like, wow, I'm just losing money for no reason now. And I used to do that on Tradeovate a lot, where I would leave my stop loss limit in, or my stop order in, not realizing that I have to like double check to make sure that I've exited the trade completely, or I've exited the stop order. I've lost so many elite accounts like that. Another thing too.
Motivate's such a pain for that.
Yeah.
I've done it as well multiple times. Yeah.
Yeah, another thing too is like you do also want to kind of buy the evals that are within your budget at that time in your life, in my opinion. Like, you can either opt to buy quality evals that have rules that you think you can trade by, or you want to go with shots on net and maybe buy the cheapest evals and kind of like experiment with what you're doing on the evals. Um, because I was buying elite accounts very early on when they were like $300 each, like craziness. And I shouldn't have been doing that with my savings. I should have been buying Apex evals at 90% off. So that's another thing, is like, once I discovered Apex was legit through having met LMT, then I said, okay, I'll switch over to Apex. And that is one of the hurdles that also like started inching me closer to more and more payouts. I ended up passing, like, when I met LMT and he confirmed that he did get his $1 million payout, I passed like 5 Apex evals at one time. I blew 2 immediately, and I got a payout from 3 of them. All $500 each, so it wasn't like a big $6,000 payout or anything, but that $1,500 did go a long way in Apex eval specifically. So, invested it right back in, and again, came out of the other side like with a lot more past evals, and with my head relaxed and calm, because great, if I blow one funded account, I have another one loaded.
Yeah. It has to be thought of as a business, and you're building inventory. You don't want to get attached to one single inventory piece. You're building up your inventory so that you can roll through accounts and then just keep payouts coming.
Yeah. I actually love saying that, I look at evals as literally paper and ink, right? So my printer ran out of paper and ink. I just need to reload and get some more so I can continue printing money. So, direct analogy to trading and evals, like, I'm never gonna stick to this ink cartridge and say no, just a little bit more use out of you. Like, I'm just gonna go get
Yeah.
another one. So,
Yeah. It's a good analogy.
all right, guys. So I think that's it for the Discord journal.